Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanwo TV and welcome to this UFO Disclosure 2015 Warminster 50. And I'm off, ladies and gentlemen. I'm off to Warminster 2015, celebrating 50 years of the thing. It's going to take place on August the 29th at the Old Bell Hotel in Warminster. Now, if you listen to Hapanwo Radio, you'll know that because I've been advertising it on the show for the last couple of months. We got a brilliant lineup of speakers. I can't wait to see these people. Ross Hemsworth, a good old friend of mine. Yeah, he's great to see him again. Kevin Goodman, expert on Warminster. Mike Oram, contactee, a guy who's spoken at Probe many times. Malcolm Robinson, Scottish guy, knows a lot about the paranormal. Steve Mera, also from Manchester area, knows a lot too. Win Keach, ace skywatcher and video analyst. John Hanson, former policeman, author and encyclopedic documenter and researcher of UFO phenomenon. And a special appearance by someone I've heard of but never seen before and don't know much about, Peter Padget, author of UFO UK and the Welsh Triangle. So I mean, I don't know what this is going to be like. It's a one-day conference. It shows a great deal of promise, though, the quality of the speakers, and also the fact that everyone I'm talking to, whenever I'm going on Facebook and things like that, they say they're going to go. It seems like everyone who can get to this is going to get to this. It seems to be hot property, this event, and of course, celebrating 50 years of the thing is a big deal. It's a major historical milestone in ufological lore. And I think it's going to be a big hit. I can feel it coming. I heard that the tickets are all sold out. It's really going to be a massive event. Now, Warminster is this little town in Wiltshire, and it's for some reason from 1964 onwards. There's been a massive amount of UFO activity and alien contact in various kinds, all kinds. From strange sounds to lights in the sky to alien beings wandering the streets. The reason this has happened, I don't know. But Kevin Goodman is going to explain exactly how it all started. Now, although it's hard to pinpoint an actual time when the thing began, we know that it entered public consciousness on the August bank holiday of 1965, because that was when there was a major meeting at the town hall, which was attended by so many people, from local people come in from a long way away because they were interested, journalists, and a lot of them, and I dare say a few government agents too, just to discuss the thing. So, well, blimey, I wish I'd been around then, I'll tell you, before my time. So, really, this event is actually taking place on the 50th anniversary of that momentous meeting. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm going down there with my friends Colin and Dave. We're going to meet up with some other friends, people like Miles Johnson and always a couple of other. Oh, blimey! I think there's Jenny as well. I've talked about it before. She's going to be there. I just can't wait. It's like just diving into warm water. Yeah, that's how it feels. It really does. And who knows what's going to happen? But the conference is going to go on, and then there's going to be a ceremonial sky watch up on top of Cradle Hill after the conference, and there's sky watching is a big thing in Warminster. No one does sky watching like Warminster does. So let's get there and see what happens, and I invite you, Hapanwo TV viewers, to join me. Well, we're off to Warminster. Yes, I'm here with my good friend, who you will recognise, Colin Walford.
Hello, how are you?
And I've also got Dave.
Hello, folks. Nice to see you.
Do you remember Dave? Dave, you've been in a couple of videos too, haven't you?
Yeah. Looking forward to Warminster very much. I haven't been to Warminster before, so very excited.
Good. How are you guys? You're feeling good?
Yeah. Good, thanks.
Yeah. Not been to Warminster myself, so it should be an interesting little trip.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I went to the Weird 10 conference in 2010, and it was really, really good there. I really had a good time. Philip Mantle was there with his books he was launching his alien autopsy book.
Should say it's the 20th anniversary today of the footage first being shown on the Channel 4 in 1995, and it was also shown in America, Fact or Fiction, with Jonathan Frakes. So yeah, so it's good that we're doing something ufological on a little trip back, so that we can at least have a few drinks tonight, can't we? Celebrate that anniversary.
Definitely. Yeah. And I bought my copy of the book there. Andy Roberts was there too, selling his copy of the Bedouin Mountains book, which I've talked about on previous programmes. But I hear Andy Roberts is coming this time.
Oh, who told you that? I liked it.
Oh, here he is. Have you heard that, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, he was posting on Facebook that he is going to come along to this event, so we could be if we what we see flashing in the sky might actually be fireworks rather than UFOs. You never know. And if we don't see fireworks in the sky, well, you never know. It would be pretty. It'll add a bit of controversy to the thing, I reckon.
It'll be a Chinese lantern, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If Andy Roberts turns up, there will be some people who will not be happy with his presence there. And he can be pretty hard. He's very harsh on people, abrasive on people. And it doesn't bother me. I'm a big ugly ex-hospital porter, but for people of a more sensitive disposition, I can quite understand that they would find it a bit galling to have that man there. But Malcolm Robinson is going to be there too. He's said on Facebook he's coming. I love that guy. He's brilliant. He's a Scottish paranormal researcher, and he's
in the Sun this week as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was in a recent TV documentary too, which actually was.
You showed him that Nick Pope part.
There's an article in the Sun about Nick Pope. I'll definitely. Well, I'll show you that later, actually, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a bit difficult in a moving car, but I'll definitely show you that later. Yes, I'll say more about that later. But anyway, there's going to be some interesting speakers, a whole array of speakers.
Win Keach
is going to be there. Yeah, the man who's Mr. Lady Killer Win Keach, whose idea of a good night out is standing on the side of a Somerset hillside up to his ankles in mud with a camera pointing at the sky, but it doesn't stop him being an absolutely hot property with the women. Yeah. Well, tell you what.
I wish I knew his secret.
Well, it gives you hope, Dave, because I mean, if he can do it, any of us can. There's Ross Hemsworth. Ross Hemsworth's going to be there.
He's introducing it apparently.
I think
he's the MC.
He's a good mate of mine. I mean, lovely to see him again. We saw him at Bufora. Do you remember 2012?
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was in 2012. Yeah, Bufora.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, he was at the Bufora conference. That was a long time ago. But I mean, that was quite a good weekend conference at Bufora, which I've written about. Ross Hemsworth was there, and I saw him there, and I've not seen him for ages before. I think he was at the Bufog event once, but I always speak to him on Facebook, and I like to catch up with him when I can. I think Steve Mera's going to be there too.
Peter
Padget, the author of the Welsh Triangles, going to be there.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, and so Steve Mera, of course, is a regular guest on my radio show, and also we should mention the Alien Autopsy radio show, Colin. Yeah, program
149.
149, yeah.
I only remember that because I did it.
That's right, yeah. And me and Colin have an interview in there, and Philip Mantle's on the show too. Special double feature all about the Alien Autopsy. It's quite actually fitting, maybe, that this event is taking place on the 20th anniversary of when Alien Autopsy hit the world.
Yeah.
And the film was launched on the 5th of May. That's when the film premiered.
London.
Was it London Museum?
It was the London. Yeah, I think the London Museum of London, whatever they call it. Yeah. But I mean, like, you know, as I said in the radio show, I'm a firm believer that there's some truth to that footage still, and we're still waiting for Spyro Ross's book to come out. I was chatting with him actually just last night you know, bordering on a friendly chat almost.
Oh, good, yeah. Well, I think there's still some new information to come out. We're expecting a book to come out at some point with some more information from Spiros Molaris. But do have a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find, if I remember to put a link in the description box, I will. If not, you can go to the Banmo Radio blog and find it. It's program 149. So there's a few other speakers I'm interested in seeing. Who else is speaking? I haven't got my program with me, but
I think our friend Mike Oram's talking.
Mike Oram,
I think he's Does It Rain in Other Dimensions?
Yeah, interesting book. Mike is an experiencer. He's a lifelong ET contact experiencer, and he's come out with some. He's written an amazing book called "Does It Rain in Other Dimensions?"
Yeah,
and
it's certainly not a long conference. I mean, I think it starts from, I think it's 9 till 5, and it's only a one-day event. But then you got the Skywatch in the evening.
Yeah. And there'll be lots of time to socialise, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Malcolm's already there. Malcolm said on Facebook he's already down there having a drink in the Bell Hotel.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're a little bit behind him. This is Friday evening, we're heading down there. Luckily we've been given accommodation down there. Otherwise, God, it would have to be a bloody day trip. And I miss half of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Hapanwa TV viewers, I shall see you later at the next point of interest. Well, I tell you what, you cannot come to a UFO conference in Wiltshire without paying a visit at the Barge Inn. And here we are. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, this bust in the pub, who does it remind you of?
Nice to meet you.
Who does it remind you of?
I know.
That's who it reminds me of. Hello, Miles.
Yes, we're in the pub and Tom and the local cricket team is one, so everybody's celebrating.
Yeah. Well, this is the Sun. Interesting, we all know about the Sun, don't we? Bake Off star killed my hubby, it's the usual kind of that headline they have, and the as you can see, it's Friday, August the 28th, the day before the conference. And what is on page 33? The UK X-Files. Now what's going on here? By Nick Pope. UFO Week in the Sun. They've got a UFO Week. Now they did one of these before, and they've got another one. Now, basically Nick Pope does like a bit of it's stuff that anyone familiar with UFOs will know about. And he talks about feel free to pause and read, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm not breaching the Sun's copyright. And then he goes through a certain number of cases, and also some UFO photographs sent in by readers of the Sun to, or if you could call them readers, I don't know if that's the right word, to the newspaper. Now, I'm familiar with most of these cases actually. There's some I had not heard of before, like this October 1984 Waterloo Bridge one. I've heard of all the others. I think that, not this one. I think HMS Manchester. That's an interesting one. Yeah. This is one of the most interesting photographs. This is one of the most interesting cases. It's the Calvine 1990 event. Two men hiking near Calvine, Perthshire, in Scotland, saw this diamond-shaped craft. They sent their photo into the MOD, to Nick Pope's office, and it disappeared. According to Nick Pope himself said he's quite suspicious about the way the photograph was handled. Apparently the original disappeared. He's got like a blow-up of it on the wall of his office, but the photograph itself disappeared. Now the actual photographers never came forward. They submitted the photograph anonymously, and to this day they have not admitted who they were. But it's a diamond or saucer-shaped craft hanging over this landscape in Perthshire, Scotland. Quite amazing. Now, I can't help wondering if there's something going on here. Whether the fact that this article has come out on the day before the day of the conference is a coincidence, or is there something going on here? And I'll say a bit more about this in more detail later on, but this could be an attempt to poison the well or muddy the waters of any UFO incidents that are coming out, because the media is covering this event. Thanks to a good friend of ours, it's been arranged that the media will be there. Someone who knows a lot about the media has has actually contacted the local, maybe even the national press, and they're going to come along. So, I mean, if there is some big secret conspiracy to cover up UFOs, it is quite likely that they would put something like this in there. Well, I'm not blaming Nick Pope personally. I'm not accusing him personally of anything. It's just a little bit odd that these two things happen to occur at the same time. Think about that. And we are now entering Warminster. Let's see what happens today. You all excited, Colin?
Yeah, ready for.
And how are you, Dave?
Yeah, really pumped and looking forward to it.
We got someone else in the car with us. I don't know where we got this. Where did we?
One that you can see.
Where did we pick this
We have a
character up
special
from?
guest today.
And this here is Warminster. This little, well, not so little. It's quite a big town in Wiltshire, the south of Wiltshire. Not an area I've been to before. And it's. Have a look round later. But I know this. I remember this because I was here before. And this, the Old Bell Hotel, is the venue of the conference. I'm with Colin, and I'm here with Dave, and Miles has gone off now somewhere on his own. No doubt engaged in important business.
Is the aliens that they're showing is pretty important.
This is incredible. This is a mural in Warminster. We're out off the high street. This is in the car park. The sun's in my eyes. Hang on a minute. There's aliens or some kind. That's Cradle Hill. And there's these flying triangles. Amazing mural. This is obviously about the Thing. Someone's made a mural about the Thing. 50 years ago today, when it started. Well, this is an unusual statue I've just found in this little shopping mall in Warminster. It's bronze, I think. It's hollow, and it's a picture of a young lady sitting on a pile of 9 cushions. I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean. Why would someone sit on a pile of 9 cushions? Maybe she's oh yeah. The only ways I can think of is, well, hemorrhoids. Maybe this is some kind of advert for hemorrhoid cream. And there's a chemist shop just up there, so maybe it's a piece of viral marketing. Now, the host for this event, the MC, was my good friend Ross Hemsworth. It was lovely to see him again. And he introduced the conference and introduced all the speakers. And he also introduced some of the activities that were going on. And one of those was a silent auction. And this is where you put a bid to win an item, fill it out the form, put it in the envelope, and the one who bids the most money in the envelope wins the prize. And he announced that the proceeds were going to the charity Help for Heroes. Now, I have a problem with that. As far as the need to take care of injured soldiers and their families, and to look after them and rehabilitate them when they've been hurt fighting in wars, I think that's a very essential and a noble cause, and I'm 100% behind it. And charities have existed for hundreds of years to do that for soldiers. The Royal British Legion, of course, most famously. Help for Heroes is quite a new organisation that emerged just since the outbreak of these multiple wars following the 9/11 false flag terror attack. And having looked at it, and this is a big subject, but I think it's not just a charity. I think it is actually promoting what I call the military religion. I think that's its purpose, is to promote the military religion. And what do I mean by the military religion? I mean that in the media and in society in general, there's a drive to portray the armed forces and those who serve in them as gods. Now, think for a moment what I mean by that. I don't mean literally, but there's an attempt to sort of deify the armed forces, to glorify and glamorize the armed forces and soldiers. And that's a quote actually from Dr. Lawrence Britt, who wrote an article about this. And that, I think, is dangerous, because I think it encourages. Obviously, the globalists need people to fight. They need people, young men primarily, willing to go out and fight for their agenda. So they have to lure them into it. And to lure them into it, they can't say, we want you to go out there
kill lots of people until you get killed yourself or come home without your legs or with your skin burnt off, so we can advance the New World Order. They can't do that. So what they do is they promote it as, well, first they promote, soldiers are very, very much promoted in society as superior and individuals of high status. And you know, it's hard to put into words. I mean, I've written several articles about this, and I've made a video about this, about poppies and things like that. I've made several videos about poppies and Remembrance Day. It's sometimes very subtle, sometimes very obvious, and it comes in many forms. But the basic effect is that soldiers are seen as above everyone else. The armed forces are seen as separate from other jobs. There's these jobs here, and there's the armed forces that are kind of in a kind of a separate sector, if you will, or more than even just a separate sector, kind of something. It is almost like they occupy some kind of Olympus. And I really can't stand those join the army adverts and things like that. I mean, this is what lured me into it. I did get lured. I did decide I wanted to be in the Royal Navy when I was a kid, and it didn't work out. I was actually gutted when I got kicked out of training. But in reflection, I think it was probably a blessing in disguise. In fact, it certainly was a blessing in disguise. If I'd stayed in the service, I would not be here now, doing Hapanmo and making these films. But these join the army adverts, they portray military life as some kind of permanent theme park, and it's like it's adventure, excitement. Yeah, well, cool, right? I suppose there is adventure, excitement in military service. There is in other jobs as well. There is in hospital portrait in a way. I found it that way. But in the armed forces, it's portrayed. These join the army adverts are portrayed as exceptionally enjoyable, and it's almost like you have these parades, these uniforms, the social life and everything, and it is almost like Disneyland. It's like living permanently in Disneyland, where everyone else is sort of like in, I don't know, somewhere else beneath you. And you're told you can see the world, visit exotic locations. You see, like one of the Join the Army adverts had a group of young guys on surfboards, and yeah, I know you get leave in foreign shores and things like that, but it is almost like a kind of one giant Chessington world of adventure, I think. And of course, you get all the girls, don't you? Yeah, and that is a very, very input in order to hook men of that age group, the age group they're targeting in, to their agenda. That is a very important part of it. The desire to feel sexually attractive, the desire to be attractive to the opposite sex, is essential for everybody, but especially men of that age group. It's very, very important to them. And to be told that you will be exceptionally so is enormously it's enormously enticing. And I mean, the irony is that the old men in suits who never fight in wars themselves and send these young men in uniforms into battle to kill and kill and kill until they're dead themselves don't see the armed forces as gods. Quite the opposite, in fact. All around Buckingham Palace in London, there are war memorials. They're all over the place. They're sort of like on every corner. There's the Royal Marines Memorial. There's the World War One. There's lots of Great War memorials. World War One. There's the Royal Navy Memorial, stuff like that. And they're all dotted around the Houses of Parliament and Buckingham Palace. Total hypocrisy, lies. The people within those walls don't give a damn about the millions and millions of young men who've been sacrificed in war, especially in the Great War, 1914 to 18, but in all the other wars as well. There's even talk of it's a kind of the Great War was actually a ritual. It was actually a ritual sacrifice, Illuminati satanic sacrifice on one level. They don't give a damn. Those men in grey suits, they don't give a damn about the men in uniform. And here's a quote, all right, a far more revealing quote. Military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as tools in our foreign policy. Who said that? Henry Kissinger. Hi, it's Warminster. I had to come out of the venue. The first session is over. I'm just going to show you something, actually, something a bit interesting. Do you remember me explaining how Richard D. Hall and the Amash conference was at the Masonic Centre in Nottingham, and that the British Academy, where David Icke did his show, he's got a big eye in the pyramid thing? Well, look, this is our venue, and it's right next door to the Warminster Masonic Regalia Limited. How about that, eh? It's quite something. Now, it's still a bit noisy, but I'm going to have to start recording because I haven't got a lot of time before the next session. I'm walking down the streets of Warminster now, outside the venue. The Warminster, this town, Warminster, what the subject of this conference is the 50th anniversary of the Warminster Thing, and by thing, it's a very sort of like thing. Obviously, is the ultimate meaningless epithet. It could refer to anything, but it refers to what you call a UFO flap. In fact, it's the most significant UFO flap in the history of this country. It lasted for at least 15 years. I had to go into this car park. It lasted for at least 15 years. And the first speaker was Kevin Goodman, who's one of the principal investigators into this phenomenon. And look out, he's going to be a guest on Hapanmo Radio soon, so keep an eye out for him there. But he talked about the history of the thing, and it began with people hearing strange sounds and having strange experiences in the area around Warminster. Especially, it centred on a place called Cradle Hill. This was the ground zero of the event. Although it really spread all over Warminster and that area. But it was very, very, very interesting stuff he talked about. What happened was this caused so much fuss in the initial few months of the event. It began in Christmas of 1964, as far as we know. That in the August bank holiday of 1965, the council actually came in on the August bank holiday in 1965, exactly 50 years ago today, to discuss this. Now, how often do you get the councils to do that? How do you often get suited bureaucrats to actually give up any part of their copious free time to come and talk about something like this? So that's really quite remarkable, and that pinpoints really the start of the thing. Right. Now, a local journalist, Arthur Shuttlewood, he wrote a... Oh my God, don't want to get the sun in your eyes. He wrote a... He wrote a book about it. A very, very famous book all about the Warminster Thing. And there was a saucer-shaped... there was a photograph of a classic saucer-shaped craft. And that's on the cover of the book, which sort of like marks the... It's sort of like become the icon of the thing. And this was one of the first places where you got UFO tourism. And as I said before, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Well, the Communist Party didn't take power in the night, did it? If you object to these souvenir shops in places like Roswell and other places, go to Stratford-on-Avon and tell them to take away all the Shakespeare stuff. There's nothing wrong with a town exploiting its own history for its prosperity. So this became a mecca for people from all over the country and beyond to refer to UFOs and talk about UFOs and come here trying to spot them up on the hill. And there's a massive skywatching culture here, one of the oldest skywatching cultures in the world, in this location. And there were several fake photos, of course, like you always get them. But the people, including Kevin himself, have gone up on Cradle Hill. This is not just sightings. This is sound. Sound has been a big part of the thing. especially recordings. People have recorded what sounds like clicks, like a Geiger counter clicks, and heartbeat. Now the clicks are often seen by crop circle researchers too, which is very interesting. And the heartbeat sound and things like that, which is really quite incredible. Now, this is not electromagnetic interference. These sounds have been recorded underground by people in underground bunkers. You can't blame that on electromagnetic interference. Now, Peter Padget is one of the speakers at this conference, and he'll talk about the Welsh Triangle. The Welsh Triangle emerged in the late 1970s, and unfortunately it upstaged the Warminster Thing. Because the Warminster, between when it started in the mid-60s and the mid-70s, it was very much on the lips of many journalists, and became quite a media sensation. But unfortunately it didn't last, and by 1980 the flap was over. Now there's actually not a flap in progress now. You're no more likely to see a UFO around Warminster than you are anywhere else, but as Kevin points out, there's a community spirit. There's a community spirit here, and that's what counts. I think that's why Warminster is still very much on the UFO map. Now the next speaker was Steve Mera, and just before he came on, Ross Hemsworth was talking about John Searle. Now John Searle is a very interesting man. If you remember from my 2010 Exopolitics conference reportage, he's an old guy who in the 60s and 70s claimed that he had built an anti-gravity machine, and he says that the Warminster Thing was actually test flights of his aircraft. I don't know about that, but anyway, Steve Mera, a good old friend of mine, he's been on the Panwo show many times. He came on stage and gave us a kind of a history of UFO imagery, which is really quite remarkable, because you have there are different types of UFO evidence or ways of explaining away UFOs: technological, environmental, astrological, and meteorological, which causes a big problem today with Photoshop. Photographic evidence does not carry the same weight it used to, because it's too easy to fake imagery. So I have to go somewhere where it's quieter. But there's UFOs in cave art. There's UFOs in Renaissance paintings from the 15th century. For instance, Giovannino's Madonna has a picture of a saucer-shaped craft, and there's a man walking his dog in the background, and both he and the dog are looking at the object. There's pictures, beams of light, a common feature of this ancient artwork, this medieval artwork. And of course, there's been a lot of photos around of beams of light going around at the moment, actually, which is very strange. India has produced coins commemorating UFO encounters. This was long before Nick Pope and the MOD desk. India, of course, always has a tradition with going into things that John Searle talks about, because India is the site of what might be the first man-made UFOs, the Vimanas. These are craft which flew through some esoteric propulsion system and power plant. And the mysteries, it's a big mystery. I mean, there's a temple in India where supposedly Vimanas are kept in the basement. I've written about that. And basically UFOs have always existed. They're not a product of 1940s sci-fi movies. We know that the Nazis were developing technology that might have been based on the Indian Vimanas. And of course we have, it's possible that the secret technology that gathered at Roswell-like events, that is crash retrievals, where the wreckage of a UFO that's crashed has been secretly salvaged by the government, may have been put into, maybe used by, it's been back engineered. Now I'm not talking about Colonel Philip Corso and his book. I don't go along with those ideas particularly. I'm not impressed by those ideas, but the stuff that Gary McKinnon talks about, and Edgar Fouché, the TR-3B, which supposedly first flew in 1965. There's the possibility that the B-2 stealth bomber has ET technology, electrogravitics, built into its propulsion system, because its engine is far too small for an aircraft of that size. And that's not necessarily from extraterrestrial sources. It might be Nikola Tesla, that kind of thing. Electrogravitics, as I've said before, has a secret human technology history as well. And there's the drip feeding. The drip feeding of information. It's almost as like they are, even though these governments are keeping things secret, they're still hinting at things. There's something that I've written about on Panmo Voice, I distinctly remember doing it, is that schools in the UK from the age of 12 have to teach UFOs as part of the national curriculum. They have to mention UFOs. And there's even been junior schools for much younger children, year 1 children, where they've actually had staged crash retrievals in the school playground. Why? What's going on? Some people say this is to do with disclosure. Again, that's a big subject. I mean, I think this whole phenomenon, a phenomenon like the Warminster Thing, is connected to the disclosure issue, because there is direct interaction between folk humanity and extraterrestrial intelligence. As far as Steve goes, disclosure, he says, I don't know. It'll happen when it has to happen. That's what Steve thinks. That's what he said. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, things have come out nice. The weather's really lovely at the moment, sort of broken cloud. But that up there is one of the many hills that surround the town of Warminster, which are absolutely central to this story of the thing. Little map of the town there. Lovely, isn't it? There's where are we? I think we're somewhere on the high street. It's up there. There's a railway station here, that's nice. Yeah. Now, come back to the car park, because I wanted to show you this mural again, commemorating. I found out since I first filmed this was actually commissioned by an artist in Bristol to commemorate the thing. And there's a lot of scenes from the thing. There's crop circles down there, you see various aliens and creatures, triangular shaped UFOs. There's Cradle Hill there and Clay Hill, the smaller of the two main areas in the background. Beams of light coming down. Again, that's something you see all the time now in various places. There's some symbolism. More information in the books, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, the speaker we just had was Malcolm Robinson. He's a guy I've known a long time, and he's been a guest on my radio show too. Scottish paranormal investigator, ufologist, and he played a major role in the Bonnie Bridge phenomenon, which is remarkably similar to the Warminster Thing, except it was almost 30 years later. But apart from that, the parallels are amazing, and maybe there is a common kind of there's common ground when it comes to these UFO flaps. Similarities with all of them. There was the strange sounds, strange things, people seeing strange things, multiple witnesses all over the town. There was an individual, a charismatic individual, who became the leader of the movement trying to get to the bottom of it. In the case of Warminster, that was Arthur Shuttlewood, of course. In the case of Bonnie Bridge, it was Councillor Billy Buchanan, who's an amazing chap. I've never met him. I'd love to meet him. He's a real character. And there's the idea that Bonnie Bridge became the UFO capital of Britain, and Malcolm takes great delight in that, because he's a big supporter of the Scottish nationalist cause, voted yes in the referendum, etc. Yeah, so there was people. One lady set up a special bed and breakfast for visiting UFO people, UFO enthusiasts, so-called, because it got into the media and people started coming here. People with an interest in UFO started coming to Bonnie Bridge. As I explained earlier on, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, Billy Buchanan took it even further. He wanted a UFO exhibition. He wanted to put a UFO exhibition in Bonnie Bridge, and he wanted. So that's a quick little spin around there. He wanted a UFO exhibition in Bonnie Bridge, and he wanted to twin Bonnie Bridge with Roswell, New Mexico. And as I've said before, this is simply a case of a town profiting off its own history, building prosperity on its own legacy. And as I said before, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you think there is, go to Stratford-on-Avon and tell them to get rid of the Shakespeare stuff. I did a whole video about this. I went to Stratford-on-Avon. I won't put the link in the description box. I can't remember all these links, but you know. Anyway, hiya. There's Derek and Tony. Anyway, that area became known as the Falkirk Triangle, and it became a kind of in the same way we had the Welsh Triangle, an area where UFO, one of the biggest UFO flaps in a long time. It went on for a couple of years in 1990s through hi Tony, all the way through through the 1990s in the Bonnie Bridge area. Thank you very much. Oh. And of course it included crop circles, and it inspired, the BBC came along to do work, and to do various things. Malcolm appeared on many TV shows, as did the others. Most of them were not very good. There was a major UFO meeting in the town hall, and just like it happened in 1965 in Warminster, and lots of the public went along. Lots of the public went along. And it was lovely because at the end there was a special awards ceremony for the Shuttlewood family, and these lovely little glass awards were handed out. I didn't film. I'm not going to film in the venue. All right, I'm not after trouble at Rendlesham Forest. I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to go there. I just don't think it's a good idea filming inside the venue. Not even just doing the stalls and things like that. I've once bitten, twice shy. But they handed out these awards to the family, which is really, I think, a lovely gesture. So, really great. That was right. Now I'm going to have another look around town because memories are starting to come back to me, and it's starting to look familiar. Now this here is the Warminster Athenaeum, and I wanted to come and have a look at this place. It brings back memories. So as I walk down here, I'll give you a quick 360. Here's the town hall, where that famous meeting in 1965 took place on a August bank holiday, 50 years ago today. It's starting to look familiar. I recognise different parts of this town. As you see, it's showing the Wizard of Oz at the moment. But this here is the Athenaeum. I'm just going to look up here on the steps. So look inside. Yeah, it looks like it's coming back. It's coming back to me. Yeah, nice. The reason is that here on the Athenaeum in 2010 was a brilliant conference called the Weird 10 Conference, which I went to. Malcolm mentioned it in his speech because he was there. So was Philip Mantle. So was who else? Brian Allen was there. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic event, weekend-long event. We stayed at this place up in the hills. We could see Cradle Hill from our B&B. It was a little place. Me and Sue are staying, and we stayed at this. It's basically a farmhouse where this lady had converted one of the part of it into a guest room. You know, it wasn't a real B&B, but we had it was a lovely place to stay, and fantastic conference. I got some videos on Hupanwo TV, which I filmed there. I'm sure the Weird 10 event. I did film there, and it was really remarkable. Brings back happy memories. That Athenaeum. Sorry. So far, like I said, I'm not filming inside the venue, but a lot of my old friends are there, and it's a nice crowd. People are being very nice. Andy Roberts hasn't showed up. Now, I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the film. But Andy Roberts is a big-time UFO skeptic, and he's posted on Facebook a few days ago that he was going to come to this conference. Well, he hasn't showed up, because I tell you what, if he'd been there, there'd been a few fireworks. Now, Andy Roberts, interestingly, he had a bit of a pop at me. He had a bit of a pop at me in the 14 Times last month. I don't know if you read the 14 Times, but I wrote about this on a Herpanwo Voice blog, and you can actually buy the copy of 14 Times if you want it. But he basically, he and Dr. David Clark had a go at me. They said that I wasn't having a go at me as such. They said they were making a joke because I was talking about Professor Brian Cox, as I do, as you know. Hey, Professor Brian Cox. Yeah, I can't stand him, and I can't. But I mean, I said in one of my articles that that man was destined to play a very unique, very important, and completely new role in media propaganda and science distortion. And they said, "Oh, welcome to the club, Brian," because they've been included with that as well. But I thought it was a bit petty, actually. But well, no, it's free publicity. I'm not going to complain. Thanks very much, Dr. Clark and Mr. Roberts, for your free publicity. And here I am. I walked up the street here. The car park where that mural is, where you saw me and Brenda just now, is actually up. It's up that way. You've got to go through an alleyway and you get to it. It's quite a charming town. Sort of a bit busy, bustling, not small. There'll be bouncers outside here later. Right, there's a barbecue going on in the venue, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to see if I can have some of the barbecue before the afternoon session begins. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order. Porters, Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to Herpanwo TV. I'm here in Warminster, and I'm here with one of the most important researchers into the Rendlesham Forest incident, Brenda Butler. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Ben.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining me today on Herpanwo TV. Now, you have been given an award, haven't you? And
Yes, I have.
I'm just going to, if you'd like to film this award that you've been given. It is the Warminster 2015, celebrating 50 years of the Thing, the Arthur Shuttlewood Award, presented to Brenda Butler for outstanding services to ufology. And it's a beautiful glass award there, and that's going to look good on your mantelpiece, I expect, won't it?
It looks good somewhere where the animals can't knock it off.
Oh, so because you recently spoke at the Rendlesham Forest Incident Conference, and you gave a great speech, but you believe that a part of the story of Rendlesham Forest has been overlooked, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And is that who do you think has been left out of the story? Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Right.
Whose story do you believe has been left out?
I think that Larry's had his story left out.
That's true.
And I think some of the other people who were there as witnesses, I think their stories have been left out. But Larry more than anybody, I think. You know, he's got an awful lot of followers, and a lot of stuff he says do gel. You know, it's right when you look in the background and everything. Larry and I have had our differences, but I love Larry to bits. I've got no reason not to.
Yeah, and me too. I think Larry has his differences with everybody, including me. But he's a very sweet man, and despite everything, I think I spoke about this in the Rendlesham Forest Incident film, which you will have seen. It is back up on YouTube now, as you should know by now, after it was removed by a false copyright complaint. But I think he has a story. What happened to him was real, didn't it? Because he really. People say he's a lion, and they've said horrible things about his life. It's on a personal level, not just about what he said, but who he is.
Yeah, but Larry's an individual person, you know, and everybody has their individual things that happen to them and everything. Everybody's got their own individual story. But yes, I think Larry has got a story there if people would give him a chance to tell the story.
Yeah, that's right. We do recommend his book, which he co-wrote with Peter Robbins, Left at East Gate. Which is really worth looking at, and looking at Peter Robbins' various other articles online. And Brenda, also the Rendlesham Forest incident of 1980, whenever we hear about the witnesses, we hear, of course Larry's been left out of it. We hear a lot about Colonel Holt and about John Burroughs, Jim Penniston. What about the British civilian witnesses? Has their story been given the airing it deserves, do you think?
No, the British civilian witnesses have not been given a good chance to air their thing. I've been telling their stories for them, and I've been bringing in their investigations, what I've done, their interviews and that, for years and years and years now. But everybody, whenever I try to bring it in, they all revert back to the Americans.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to want to know about the English witnesses. Now, the English witnesses, in my mind, have got no Secrecy Act. I mean, you know, they don't have to sign anything, the Official Secrecy Act. But plus, I was interviewing the witnesses before this all got released in the newspaper in News World 1983. Because a lot of people were phoning me up, and the police were phoning me up and saying what had happened down there, there's something happened there. People from all over the country down there were phoning me up a long time before this was made newsworthy.
Absolutely. And also, just one more thing. What's happened in Rendlesham Forest in 1980, Christmas 1980, that's not the only strange thing that's happened there. And you yourself and Derek and a few of our other friends, well, I myself haven't, but I know you guys have witnessed strange things. What sort of things have you seen in the forest in recent times?
Well, for a start, in recent times, yeah, but this starts back for me in 1979, because I don't know, a lot of people don't know anything about the 1970s, where there was an awful lot of UFOs seen in the 1970s. 1979 I was down there, that's when I first went down there, investigating and interviewing people who had actually seen UFOs over the forest and over the bases. But in recent times we have seen craft in the sky, triangle craft in the sky, we've seen spinning disc just this year, you know, and loads of lights. And the lights that Bastinta is now sounding, saw the big orange light globe. We've seen it numerous times. Numerous times we've seen it, with the black bit in the middle and a black bit going across. Especially in the early 2000s, that was round a lot.
So it's obviously a recurring visitor. It's good that Adrian Bastinta is speaking out, actually. I mean, we need more, because he's been quite quiet for a long time. But anyway, Brenda Butler, thanks very much for being a guest on Hapanwo TV.
You're welcome.
Okay, enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Ben.
See ya.
Thank you.
Well, first afternoon session is now over. Matt Lyons, it's a guy I've met before, spoken to a bit. He is chairman of Bufora, and he spoke a little bit about the history of that organisation and its relationship to the Warminster Thing. Because he knew his organisation spoke to Arthur Shuttlewood, many other people, and actually dealt with the Warminster Thing and everything going on around it. Bufora is, I've actually written an entire report on a Bufora conference, the 2011 one, I think it was a 2011 one in London. So I'm trying to find a quiet place to film. There is hardly anywhere. But it was interesting. I mean, unfortunately, Bufora I find tend to be trying to walk forward while looking over their shoulder. And I said this when I went to the conference in 2011. They tend to sit in a circle, facing inwards, going over and over every solved case they can think of. And I don't think they focus enough on the cases that are unsolved. I mean, a lot of the speakers at the Bufora conference, I mean, one of them, or two of them actually, did an hour and a half's lecture on all the solved cases they could think of. And I mean, Jenny Randalls, who actually spoke at that event, she has written a book called UFOs That Never Were, which is actually about solved UFO cases. I mean, I myself know how much effort and awkwardness goes into writing a book. Why would someone write a book about that? Oh, well, I don't know. People have their own ideas about Jenny Randall, so I don't know. Anyway, Matt also talks about this sound issue. Matt's a musician, and he's sort of like, he's looked into this. But he talked about the fact that unusual sound is often a part of the UFO experience, especially major UFO events. And it is. Matt Lyons actually replaced Wyn Keach, because Wyn Keach had to pull out of this event at the last minute. So thanks for that, Matt. The following speaker, the one we just had, was one of the most remarkable individuals I've ever seen. His name's Peter Padget. He was down as a keynote speaker. He's the author of the Welsh Triangle, which I talked about earlier, and he came on the stage dressed like one of the men in black, and he talks in a very theatrical way. He claims to be a former government agent, and the way he spoke, someone else said it to me, but it also occurred to me, that this person was right. He appeared to be channeling. He kept saying, your planet, your solar system, as if someone else was speaking through him. He talked about energy, and how a flying saucer was actually a collection of electrical energy, and how you should never approach a UFO if you see one sitting on the ground or close to the ground, because it's dangerous because of the energy. He talks about free energy as well, which of course is a major part of the UFO issue, as I said before. He goes into history, the floods, the pyramids, about how sound waves can be used to move things, and again we come into this thing about sound, like Matt Lyons did. And he talks about how weapons can be made out of infrasound, like a 7 Hz sonic weapon can kill you. And Lyle Watson said something about this in his book Supernature, if I remember. He talks about Fukushima and the dangers associated with the radiation in the ocean, and about how bad things were. But he says, I'm an optimist, he says. Oswald Spengler said that optimism is cowardice, but I don't agree. I don't think it is. And he talks about artificial intelligence and things, about how dangerous it is. He talks about that China's building a supercomputer, and then that's going to start talking to other supercomputers, and we're going to end up with a massive war. There was a film made about that. I think it was called The Forbin Project, if it's the film I'm thinking of. A sort of sci-fi movie about that very thing happening. Anyway, he's a really strange chap. He's going to do a speech here tomorrow for 3 hours, and I can't come back. This is just a one-day event. This is a separate event that Padget's going to speak at again. I can't afford to stay. I've got to get back to work. All in all, definitely I'm glad I said. A very, very strange chap indeed. Very interesting chap. Really amazing. Very funny. Yeah. Well, I've got to get back for the next speaker now. Well, after the amazing cake that we had at the Reynolds and Forest conference, we got another one now. Which is
it's just icing, yeah.
Again by
Sworn
Skies.
Oh,
wow.
It's too brilliant.
Oh look.
It's really good.
That is nice.
All of the different plants, that's all cake.
Sworn Skies, 50 years of the Warminster Thing. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, the last session of the conference is over, last speaker. We had John Hanson, who was very interesting, a former policeman, author of this encyclopedic collection of books on UFOs, Haunted Skies. He's done, I think, 8 or 9 or 10 of these now. And he's written for magazines and things like that. And he talked about a lot of the various pieces of research he's done. Now, he's a very hands-on kind of ufologist. He's an organiser too. He organised that controversial conference with Colonel Holt, and God, which of course proved very troublesome, as you know. But I don't blame him for it. It's not his fault. But he talked about. He brought up several very interesting cases, and one of those is ones I've made a film about, and that is when Margaret Fry saw a craft come down right in the middle of the street at Bexley Heath in East London. In those days, it was in 1955. It was part of Kent in those days, and it just sat there. This disc-shaped, saucer-shaped object, silver metallic saucer-shaped object, sitting in the middle of the road. Has a lot in common with the Westall incident in Australia, actually, which is another. This was an event in 1966, I think, in Australia, which was very similar in many ways. A lot of his fellow policemen have seen strange things, like his son saw something. His son is a policeman too, and saw a strange thing in the sky, and John didn't believe it at first, but now he does. Now he is keen on ufology, and he sort of like became aware. So John gave a very interesting lecture. He handed round some documents and some pictures, and he talks about Mrs. Rosenberg, the lady. I couldn't remember her name. I know it was a Dutch-sounding name, but what's her name? Jemmy or something Rosenberg. Anyway, she was a lady, an English lady, who lived in a farmhouse or an old vicarage, and one day in 1954 she stepped outside and there was a huge disc-shaped object hovering above her roof with some Nordics aboard looking down at her. And there's an interview with her online, and she looks totally credible. You can sometimes tell certain people are being truthful when you just talk to them. John's book collection is not commercial. He says it himself. He doesn't look like he's not going to make a fortune off his books. He's made a lot of loss off his books. So it's Jesse Rosenberg, that's it. So he does it because he believes in it. He believes it's historically important, and he's right. Mike Oram was there, and I've talked about Mike Oram before because he's been on this program. He was at Probe. He's a contactee. He has contact with the creatures he calls Space Brothers, and he lived in Warminster, and he talked about his contact experiences he's had in Warminster. He's been up Star Hill and Cradle Hill, and creatures have approached him, men in black type creatures, aliens, and they've given him messages. And again, the messages they give are what a lot of contactees are told. They warn about war and environmental destruction, about human conduct, about how we have got to change our ways, and that what happens to the Earth affects their world as well. He met Arthur Shuttlewood. He went and knocked on his door, and he got to know Arthur Shuttlewood. He knew Colonel Wendell Stevens, who's died now, unfortunately. He talked about the various books about messages from aliens. He's a very interesting chap, is Mike. It's good to see him and Fran, his partner, again. Another guy, a local man called Doug, appeared on stage afterwards. He was a special guest, and he had a sighting in the 1970s, and he's just decided to report it now. So he reported it on stage. He saw a spherical object when he was on his way home from night shift, which was quite something. Yeah. So all in all, good speakers, interesting speakers. And now I'm going to go and get a pint because I think I deserve one. Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Well, we're now at the equivalent of Everest Base Camp. The sun's just going down. There was a beautiful sunset sky a minute ago, and I'm here with Dave.
Don't put that on. Misrepresent.
Well, it's too bloody late. You're not exactly you're being ostentatious. You're not exactly hiding it. It's like, yeah, we're sort of like at Everest Base Camp. We're going to climb to the summit. Got our oxygen masks on, and we're going to see what we can see. The sky there's thin cloud. It's breaking up in places. Remains to be seen what happens tonight. But I'm all ready for anything. The last time I was in Warminster, we couldn't come up to the Cradle Hill because the weather was terrible. Me and Sue decided not to do it because we didn't have any transport, so we'd have had to get a lift back to our digs, and we weren't sure we'd get a lift back. So we didn't actually go to Cradle Hill. But tonight we are. And Miles is here, and a couple of other people. As you can see them all milling around there. This is the 50th anniversary of the thing, and this event is commemorative of that. So it's a very special ceremonial ascent of Cradle Hill. More later. There's reminders here that we are on the edge of Ministry of Defence land, Defence Infrastructure Organisation here, Warminster Rangers. So basically you can't cross over there because it belongs to the Army, it's patrolled by the Army, and this is a constant theme of life here, the relationship between various military and civilian UFO research, or lack of military UFO research. There's some kind of thing on top of that hill, which looks like some form of communications antenna, which you can't. Some reason my zoom's not working, but you can see there that there's some kind of communication antenna on top of that hill there, which is probably military. Okay, I don't know how much you can see, Hapanwo TV viewers, but we've left the car park. We're heading up a road, a little pathway. There's fields on either side, barbed wire fences. This is farmland and Ministry Defence land all around us. The sky's clearing up actually. Good night. The rain has stopped, and there's a copse of trees ahead. I think what confused us is that all the photos I've seen of Crater Hill so far show it to be with the copse on the top and then just bare grass all along the flank of the hill. But the fact is, since the 1960s, there's been a lot of tree planting, and a lot of the hill is now covered with forest. So that's why we had a bit of trouble finding the place actually. Me and Colin drove around in circles for a bit, and me, Colin and Dave. Over there is that antenna I was showing you earlier. Let's see if I can focus in on it this time. No, it's probably because of the light. There it is. There it is. It's that antenna there. Probably military. So this is kind of where it all started, where in Christmas 1964 a lady heard a strange sound and had a strange experience. What will happen tonight, who knows? But if anything interesting happens, you can be sure it'll be on Hapanwo TV. I've got to share this with you, Hapanwo TV viewers. We're approaching the summit of the hill, and there was a magnificent sight, a pastel sunset ahead through the trees, which this does not, there's no way this will be conveyed on the camera, but it's absolutely magnificent. It's like, oh wow, just look at that. It's so beautiful through the trees and everything. I can see the silhouettes of people. Can you see those silhouettes of people? It's magnificent. And you see just a little bit of whiffs of cloud. You see it's more reddish in one part, more orange in another. It's like, oh wow. God. This is incredible. I don't know how much of this you can appreciate. But it's looking really surreal. It's looking etheric now as we head out through the trees. I can smell horse manure or cow manure. We're heading out over the field. God, this is really etheric. I feel really. This is very transcendental. We're leaving the copse now, the copse of trees from the summit of the hill. We're walking out across the field. Now this is just, I got a bit transcendental just then, I really did. No, I actually became, I don't know how much you can see of me. I'll put the here we are. I'll put the night light on. How's that? Let me just test the night light. Oh, it works. Now I got a bit transcendental just then, coming up through the trees, seeing the sunlight through the sunset through the trees. It was like a Turner painting or something. Funny enough, there's something similar happened a few days ago. I was in Oxford, and my friend Nick Colostrom was coming to Oxford, so I met him at the station. We went to Exeter College because he had to meet someone there. And I went into the chapel of Exeter College, and again the beauty of it sort of overwhelmed me. But I'm here with Dave, my friend. Dave, is there anything you want to say? How did you get on with today's conference? What do you think of it?
I thought it was very good. Had a good range of speakers. I thought Steve Mera was very good because he covered the whole history of the subject, going back to ancient paintings and cave markings, that sort of thing, which clearly showed that something strange was interacting with humans, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So he did a really good comprehensive overview of the whole thing, and it was very clear, so I commended him on that. I thought thought it was very good. I liked Peter Padget, so I enjoyed all the metaphysics.
He was amazing,
on the
wasn't
flip chart. Yeah, just describing how UFOs work and what's going on in the universe and how it all works. So that's good. And yeah, everyone else was pretty good. First time to Warminster, really enjoyed it. Thanks, Ben. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's great, Dave. It's been great having you here with me.
Yeah, good to have you company.
Yeah. I was going to go and talk to some of these people over here, see what they have to say. Would anyone like to give us a Vox Populi for the conference? Anyone interested in being on Hapanmo TV? Colin? What do you think?
I'm already on. Okay, yeah.
If you want to do a Vox Populi.
Are you rolling?
I'm rolling, yeah.
Okay, we're on Cradle Hill. We've come up for a little walkway and had a beautiful sunset. We had a nice rainbow.
It's been lovely, and it's
a little bit lost on the way, but
yeah,
it's beautiful. We're just looking for the Amber Gambler, really.
Yeah. Hopefully we might see something.
Yeah, we might only find that back in the pub, to be fair. But,
there's the pub drinks called the Amber Gambler. Yeah, yeah. The pub has put on some special drinks for us, Amber Gambler and the Warminster Thing. Just it's special brew just for this event. Yeah, very strong lager ale, very strong ales. Now that is Warminster. Those lights over there are Warminster in the distance.
Dave's got the best seat in the house. You see, Dave's got the best seat.
Yeah, he's got his chair. Dave's got the chair like he did it. Do you remember he was at Glastonbury? In Uphill we had the chair.
Where's all the military then? Are they off doing their...
They're still around.
Are they underground, under the hill?
Well, that's what Miles was saying. Miles said there was a dam under here.
A big dam.
A dam, a deep underground military base.
Well,
I think that's possible. Look, I think look out for them.
Maybe they're disguised as those cows.
Yeah, there's cows over there. Like the ones we saw on Nap Hill.
Yeah, have you seen the new trailer for that?
Is Dad's Army coming back?
Yeah, they do the new one.
I bet it won't be as good as the original.
No.
Toby Jones is going to be Captain Mannering.
Oh.
He's good, he's good.
Toby Jones, the journalist? Oh,
No. The actor.
Oh. I was thinking of Toby Young, sorry.
Oh, good grief.
Not all cows, by the way.
No. Aren't they?
Oh, one of them.
Bill Nye is going to be Sergeant Wilson.
Oh.
And that twat off EastEnders is going to be Private Walker.
Well, there's loads of twats on EastEnders. Which one, Dan?
The real Cockney white boy, always up for a scrap and effing and blinding everywhere.
Do you want to be on Hapanmo TV? Yeah. You want to be on Hapanmo TV?
Talking about what?
About anything. Just tell us what you think of the conference.
Oh, yes, okay then.
This is Tony. Yeah. And he actually lives near me, and we've never met because he's not on Facebook or anything.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the conference. I felt I had to be here for the 50th anniversary because I've been up here once and once before, and that was in 1979 when playing darts back in Oxford. I got an offer off a regular sky watcher to come to Warminster one weekend. I thought that was hilarious at the time, but I know that maybe not so much to laugh about and a lot more to think about in the intervening years since 1979. So it's great to be stood here on the top of Cradle Hill, as I was all those years back.
Has it changed at all since you came here last?
I couldn't be sure. One of the speakers today mentioned that it is different.
Well, I mean, I noticed that when I got to the hill. The first thing I noticed was it didn't look like it did in the photos because those photos were taken a long time ago.
Yeah.
They've planted a lot of trees. Yeah. It's very wooded now, and before there was just like fields and grass. So it has changed. It has changed in its appearance. I think that's what confused us a bit, you know. Yeah. But it's really
Steve Mera's presentation, the roundup of UFOs through the ages, I thought was
yeah.
It's the one we had at Pro, but it's fairly comprehensive, and it does open your eyes to the fact that this phenomenon has been about for a long time. Whether you're talking about the cave paintings from 25,000 years ago, or Renaissance paintings from about 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, 100 years ago. There's a lot to think about. Peter Padget's presentation was absolutely stunning. Either the guy's totally bonkers, or he's one of the most important people who we should be listening to today.
I think that's right.
I veer towards the latter.
Very interesting.
Look forward to him speaking again tomorrow.
So, Peter Padget is doing his own event actually tomorrow in the same location. So very keen to see what happens. And we're now faced with this amazing view over here, and well, I'm going to stop filming and I'll get back to you at the next point of interest.
As soon as we get something that's roughly the size of a football field that goes overhead.
Yeah, that's right. Be sure I will capture it on camera, unless they beam something down to stop my camera working. We'll see. Okay, we've had a photograph taken of somebody. Well, it's a photo taken of me actually, and
Oh my God.
there's a strange object there. Now, what happened was I took a few steps away
Oh, that's a pulse.
to answer the call of nature.
That's an insect, because that's a multiple exposure.
Is it? It's not, is it? Let's have a look.
Multiple exposure.
Let's have a look.
Take another one in the same place.
That's a rod.
You sure it's not
This,
an added
now, what this gentleman's found.
Wow, no, it's not.
It's a Jose Escamillo rod.
See, there's me.
It is, yeah.
There's me
It's a
having
rod.
a Jimmy Riddle.
Expand it. Can you expand the rod?
Oh, is that your penis?
No, no.
I was going to say that.
It lies along the ground like that.
Ben.
Now this is
Hi,
this is
Ben.
no this is.
Stick it out the bottom.
You've got him. You've got the lights in the background here. They're exactly. I looked at those lights. They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
This is the glow in the background, and this is really what the hell is
That's
it?
amazing.
It's a rod.
And there's some kind of strange.
Speed.
Could have a look, just get a shot of that. Is that all right? There's a strange shot. I'll have to ask you if you can send us a copy of this. I'd be grateful. Well, I'll put this. You'll see it in a minute if I can get a copy of this. But there's a long line of like a white line going past
Like a
me
rod.
by my ankle, by my right ankle.
Rod, do you know what rods are?
Well, some of them are insects. That's not an insect.
No, the rods aren't insects.
No.
You can't.
Thanks, mate. You want to send me a copy of that? Do you mind if I put it up as a still on my film?
Yeah.
Um,
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, see you in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I think.
You got it on my email and stuff like that.
no, I don't have email on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're now returning from Cradle Hill. We've had a good sky watch. We've had good fun. Apart from that strange photograph of me having a little Jimmy Riddle and something messing with my ankle, we've not seen anything particularly unusual. So we're going to head back down to Warminster and have a drink. There's a sci-fi and alien party going on at the Bell Inn, so we're going to go and check that out. And if that's not fun, we're going to go and
We're going to go to the organ inn.
we're going to go to a pub called the Organ Inn. That's what it's called. Yes, Yes, I'll tell you what. It's almost as bad as you know. There's a pub in Nottingham. Do you know what it's called? There's a pub in Nottingham. Oh. Do you know what it's called? Guys, don't spoil my punchline. Do you know?
What is it called?
It's called A Horn in the Hand.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. There's some people messing around in the. You can't see it, I'm afraid, apparently, TV viewers. But through the trees, there's like an old barn, which is like a big feature of the Warminster Thing culture. There's some people around there with some torches.
Well,
So we're sort of making our way through here.
the examples that they showed us.
And yeah, you've got to be careful not to trip over these tree roots down here. See, some tree roots. Can you see where I'm trying not to fall over them? That's right. Hello. Oh, some people who were there earlier now going around. That over there is the barn. You can't see it, but over to our left is the barn. It's a big part of Cradle Hill culture.
What way, Ben?
We're now heading back down to the car park. It's been a great
We've
evening.
been replaced by a later duty.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great fun. Hello there. Hey, Mr. Steve. All right. It's
Your turn to stick it out now.
yeah. Oh, Steve Wills is here, and then a couple of other people. Yeah, there's some more people who've come along. I'm just doing Hapanwo TV at the moment. Do you want to say hello to Hapanwo TV, Steve?
Hello, Hapanwo TV.
Yeah, that's Steve. He's the man behind. He's the brains behind this operation.
One part.
One of them, yeah. One of the many brains behind the operation, yeah. Okay, I'll see you down. See you later.
Okay, cheers.
Take it easy. Yeah, we've had a lovely time. There's a light over there. We just saw a light. Is that a car headlight again? Oh. Hey Malcolm, you made it up here.
I did, yeah.
Can I put you on Hapanwo TV a minute?
Yeah,
This is Malcolm Robinson, who's one of the speakers, and he's a very clever guy. He talks all about what you talked about? The various different things. Yeah, Bonnie Bridge and that.
Yeah, they try to draw the parallels between Bonnie Bridge and Warminster, which is two towns which has been subjected to intense UFO activity over the years. And so my talk today was just to show the audience that the things that's been happening in Warminster is very, very similar to what's been happening in Bonnie Bridge.
Yeah.
And so that was the focus of that today.
Oh, thanks, Mel. Thanks for commenting. That's great.
But it's great to be here at Cradle Hill and be part of the Sky Watch tonight. It is overcast, as we can see. But having said that, still strange lights have been seen in overcast skies and drop down below the cloud level. So fingers crossed, who knows? We may be in a position to see something this evening.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, it will eliminate what Steve Mera was talking about when he talks about astronomical phenomenon.
Yes.
If the clouds are low, if there's clouds cover, and you see light in the sky, it's not going to be a star. And that helps.
Yeah,
it really does, you know?
Absolutely.
It really does, yeah.
And I mean, we have to be aware that there's many natural things in the sky, like satellites and stars. Some people are confused by stars, the twinkling of the stars, and they think it's a moving object when evidently it's not.
Yeah.
Some of the satellites that traverse the night skies are just satellites.
Yeah.
To people who's not used to seeing these things, then they may imagine that as to be something else.
Yeah.
So sky watching is all about education. It's all about educating the people who's not done a sky watch before to see what's naturally in the skies. And then obviously it goes without saying your normal aircraft that traverse the skies, the navigation lights, red, green, blue, red, green, white. We know what these are.
Yes, and there are even like mobile phone apps you can get now, which will actually tell you, which link into air traffic control, and then tell you where the aircraft are in the area, so you know where they're there. But you're right, Mark. I mean, it's good to have like an first step to knowing what you shouldn't be seeing in the sky is knowing what you should see.
That's a major thing.
Yeah, and so few people look into the sky. I mean, in the cities you can hardly see the sky because there's so much artificial light at night. And so when you do see something strange, you'll know it's really something strange. That's the point, isn't it?
Can you ask another question? Like, we were just talking, could you put the answer on your thing?
I can, but do you want me to put the camera on you?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
No,
Okay.
I don't mind, that's fine.
Okay, this is Jenny.
Jenny.
This is Jenny. You've heard about Jenny before.
It's just that we were all discussing the fact that there was so much UFO activity here decades ago, and now there's not. So I'd like to ask Malcolm if they had a reason for being here all that time ago, and they fulfilled that reason, and now that's why we don't see them as much up here.
Jenny, it's a wonderful question. It's $1 million question which all ufologists, not only here in the UK but all over Europe, would love to have the answer for. And I could say and give you a lot of different alternatives, but at the end of the day, myself and my colleagues don't really truly know. What is undisputable is the fact that Warminster has seen a hell of a lot of activity over the years since 1964 onwards. It's dissipated to some degree latterly, of course. The reason why that was, like I said in my talk today, there's nothing specific about Warminster or Bonnie Bridge that would make it a concern for any extraterrestrial technology who's maybe visiting here, if indeed that is the answer, which I do. I mean, it could either be extraterrestrial or interdimensional for me personally, and I could be wrong. But there must be a reason. Maybe it's a vortex, maybe it's a window area, maybe it's something where it's just like a gateway in planet Earth. There's a gridway, which are UFO hotspots. Nullarbor Plains in Australia, Hessdalen in Norway, and all these various locations may be a gridway, a gateway, a portal if you like, where things can be seen. And that's only speculation, that's not a fact. That's all I can say.
Well, thanks, Mal. Thanks very much for commenting. It's great to get to talk to Malcolm Robinson on top of Cradle Hill. Very appropriate, I think. Is this your first visit up here?
No, I've been up here a few times.
It's my first visit, and I've loved it. I've had a great time up here. Cheers, Malcolm. Thanks very much.
It's been a pleasure, and I love your show, by the way.
Oh, thanks very much. Well, you've got to come back on my radio show. You've been on my radio show before, and it'd be lovely to have you back on radio too. On my radio, and I'll get in touch with you about that because I'm looking for some new guests, mate.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, and you enjoy yourself out there, and
anything, let us know.
We'll do.
Back at the bell.
Come back to fancy dress sci-fi party.
Yeah.
This is my fancy dress.
Take it easy, guys. Enjoy yourselves. See ya. We've just seen something. Dave has just spotted something. Now, in the distance over there, you can't see it, but there's that communications antenna I pointed out to you. We're down in the car park now, Dave here has just spotted something, and Jenny did too.
Yeah, well done, Jenny.
What did it look like?
It was to the right of that red light,
Yeah.
and first of all it was like a bright light, and you're like, wow, and then it started flashing very slightly, so Tony said, that's a plane, and then it behaved not like a plane, the light just came on properly, and it sort of went up and down. Then it went past the red light, and now it's disappeared.
That's very strange.
I mean, if it was a plane, it would have come out the other side by now.
Yeah, I know you can't see this.
Backwards on itself.
Yeah. You might be able to see the red light, ladies and gentlemen, but...
I think up here you're less likely to see it, though. We saw it really clearly. Well, you can't get much more of an angle.
Yeah, we're just going to try and get another parallax on it.
I'm not walking down there just for that.
Oh, come on, my love. It's like all of 200 metres.
It might... Well, we'll find out if it's moved or not. If it's moved, then it's not anything significant, or less significant. But if it... Yeah, but it might not have moved. But it might still be there. But then, is it... The problem is you get into a situation... Yeah. Did you see it?
I saw it, Tony.
Was it? It's a playoff.
It's gone now.
It started to blink and flash, and then you quickly...
So definitely a plane?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Right, let's have a look at my souvenirs, and this is the first one. This is actually my Warminster keyring. It's actually a ticket stroke keyring. Warminster 2015, celebrating 50 years of the thing. And there's my number 80. So that's my first souvenir, and that's a lovely alternative just to having a ticket. It really is. I really appreciate that. This is the sun, which I showed you earlier on. This is my pen, Rich Planet TV. That's what's this? Nexus magazine. Oh, it's my. I've got to renew my subscription to Nexus. Right, what else we got here? Oh, this is. Now this was given to me by somebody who won it in the raffle. Somebody won this in the raffle, and they didn't want it. It's actually a DVD from the International UFO Congress. It's number 539, and it's a lecture by Mike Oram. It's actually quite an old one. This, I think, it's signed. It's signed by Mike, and this is one he did a number of years ago. Actually, as I said in the earlier video, he's an interesting chap, Mike. Very interesting chap indeed. So that's really good. I'm grateful for that person. This is a flyer for the event. This is another flyer for the event. This is that's a book I'm reading. That's another book I'm reading. This is what's this? A Mystery in the Fields, presentation by Andrew Johnson. And I'm presuming this is about crop circles. It's yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'll enjoy that, I'm sure. Chemtrails and climate change, skylines and cloudbusters. Weather modification, chemtrails, HARP and orgone energy. Oh, I think that's from Andrew Johnson as well, I think. Apollo, removing truth's protective layers. This is from Andrew Johnson. Yeah, checktheevidence.com, yeah. Explaining why, in the case of the moon landings, technology appears to have gone backwards. Oh, right, so that'll be fun. This is Dr. Judy Wood, Where Did the Towers Go? That's definitely Global Breakthrough Energy Movement Conference, Hilversum Island 2012. That's definitely from Andrew Johnson. I must have picked those up from... that was that time he was speaking at High Wycombe Paranormal. I must have picked them all up then. This is... what's this? Oh, this is Tony Topping's remote viewing DVD. Yeah, I've got to watch that. This is my notebook. Those are my souvenirs, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, quite a trawl this year, I think. Well, I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in making the Warminster 50 conference a reality. All the speakers, all the organisers, and everyone else who went. I just loved it. It was really great. There was another event on the Sunday which I couldn't get to with Peter Padget, and if any of you went to that, I hope you had a really good time. I really hope you did. Yeah, I mean, it's whether the truth will come out, I don't know, but I think it's tied
what happened at Warminster, I think, is tied to, of course, the general UFO phenomenon, and the truth about the UFO phenomenon is still up in the air. It is out there, but it's not down here. And I suppose that's the big question, and I think I'll address that in the last part of this film.
Now, I was in two minds whether to speak about this particular subject. I did write about it a couple of months ago. If you read the Hapanwo voice blog, I wrote to it after a couple of weeks of reflection, which I think I needed. But it actually concerns one of the strangest phenomena in the UFO field, and it is that of the alien implants. And I think this is also one of the most important phenomena of the UFO field because of its considerable level of physical evidence. Now, some people have reported that they have had objects inserted into their bodies. Almost always it's people who also experience contact with extraterrestrial beings or are otherwise involved in the UFO or mind control field. Now, there are all kinds of theories about what the function and purpose of these implants are and the nature of them. Nobody knows for sure. Now, the skeptics, of course, they say that these implants are just loose fragments of tooth enamel, gallstones, bits of dental fillings in one case, I remember, or other natural objects that have moved from their normal place in the body. And they're either that or they're shards of glass, pencil leads, shrapnels, splinters, etc. That have been mistaken for something put there by E.T. This is not true. Implants are sometimes retrieved from the body by surgery. Now, they're usually very different indeed to any of those above nominated explanations. It's worth pointing out, actually, I'll say a bit more about this later on, but it's going into explanations and fallacies and things. It's an important issue. These implants, they tend to be metallic lumps. They're usually 0.2 to 0.4 inches in size. They're sometimes covered by an outer layer of plastic or ceramic substance, and chemical analysis reveals that they don't very often resemble anything constructed by man on the Earth. And they certainly never look like conventional electronics. Typically, there's no scar tissue on the skin close to the implant site, nor any swelling or irritation around the location, which would normally happen if a natural foreign body entered your body. Now, on the contrary, what people find is the nerves and blood vessels intertwine with this object, as if it's intended to become a part of the patient's own biology. Now, the late Dr. Roger Lear specialised in surgically removing alien implants, an exaggerated name. Sadly, he died last year. Very tragic loss indeed. Daryl Sims has investigated this sort of thing as well. Now, these implants can sometimes be detected on X-rays or other forms of medical imaging, and they also sometimes emit electromagnetic signals. Now, the most common parts of the body they're found in are the hands and feet. Other places in the limbs they can be found as well, or in the head. Now, they have been detected deep inside the interior of organs like the brain or the eyes. Now, these are places where they could not have possibly been inserted by any known surgical means, nor have entered the body accidentally, unless through some very obvious debilitating or fatal traumatic injury. Any kind of surgical means that might be able to put these implants somewhere where they're found would leave obvious scars. It would leave obvious marks on and effects on the body. Now, when I spoke a few weeks ago, I don't know how many of you saw it, but I spoke at the bases at Woodborough conference, and the video was up online. Now, during the interval between the speakers there were some small workshops just in the adjacent rooms, and in one of those was a team who claimed to be able to detect some implants within the body, and they offered their services to delegates for free of charge. And many volunteered to be examined. Now, me, as you know, because I speak openly about this, I have had no contact experience at all that I'm aware of. I have seen unidentified flying objects. I have seen them. I've spoken about them. I've even been on camera when they've happened. But I've never encountered an alien being, nor had a close encounter with an object or craft. Therefore, I have no reason at all to think that, or had no reason at all to think that I myself needed to be checked over. And I spoke about this to one of the other delegates, and he stared at me very hard and said emphatically, "Don't say that." Now, I was quite taken aback. So I decided to join the queue of people outside the room that they were using for the procedure. And in the end, there was no time. What happened in the end, I couldn't be scanned because there was no time for everyone who wished to be scanned. This wasn't enough time in the breaks or the lunch hour. But as luck would have it, or providence, another opportunity arose because after the conference, I stayed overnight at a friend's house nearby because I didn't have my own transport. And I spent the evening with some of the people at the event who'd been doing the scanning. And one of them was a team member. He'd been doing the scanning and the implant detection at the conference. I just said to him, "Look, you've got your equipment with you. Have you got time just to quickly check me over?" And he agreed. Now the tools they use these implant detector tools, and they're rather like the detector ones that you find airport security staff use for making sure the passengers aren't carrying guns or anything else dangerous. Now there's 3 different types of tool. There's a radio frequency scanner, an electromagnetic field meter, and a metal detector. And the method is very simple. I stood in the middle of the room, I emptied my pockets, and then this man switched off all the electrical appliances in the house to minimize any electronic noise that might generate a false positive or drown out any signal from anything in my body. And then he ran all 3 of these detectors over the surfaces of my body. The metal detector squeaked loudly when it came across my belt buckle and the metal in my trouser zips. Apart from that, it just was silent. But after that, things got interesting because the radio frequency scanner picked something up. It was just a little single pulse, about 800 megahertz, coming from my left upper arm. Now, this is the frequency emitted by telephones and TV sets, but all those in the house had been isolated. And the electromagnetic field meter also registered activity in that area. Now, the man doing the scan, he told me that the EM field test is not as precise. But what I found interesting was that the spot on my body was where the pulse came from, was one that I alerted you Hapanwo TV viewers to, in a semi-jocular tone, just about 2 years ago. That is the point. That is the point. That's the interesting bit. And that's strange. Yeah, I was just having a laugh, really. Now, when I got this scan result back, this pulse was detected, I felt initially a little bit alarmed. Because I expected that he would find nothing at all inside me. But at the same time, I was curious. I just wanted to put myself in the clear, as they say. And I definitely had no reason to suspect that I really would have anything like this in me. I have no recollection at all of any experience that might correlate with an implant being stuck into me. And it didn't take long for me to sort of like get a grip, though, because I know people who are far worse off in that respect. And I've got friends who have implants in their eyeballs, in their brain, their nose, their jaw. And do you know Kieran Lee Perrin? Do you remember him? Now, he has ones that are close to his teeth. And they seem to have been specifically designed to cause him intense pain. They sort of interfere with the dental nerves and their agony. They're right here in his jaw. So I've got nothing to complain about. So what do I do now? Well, I'm not sure I'm going to do anything, because when I was at the house where I got scanned, there was a psychically sensitive lady there, and she doused me, and she told me that the implant had been put there by aliens that had looked like greys, except they were coloured green. And they'd done it 2 years ago as a part of an attempt to make contact with me, about the time I first noticed that mark on my arm. Now, that attempt had not worked and had been abandoned, and they're not going to try it again. That's what they say. So if this object has been in my body for 2 years and it has had no effect that I'm aware of, why should I be concerned now? I feel alright, actually. I'm not bothered now. I'm not worried. But that's the question. Why me? Why has this happened to me? And it could be simply due to my interest in UFOs, or to do with my past, because as regular readers know, I have regular viewers of of the TV channel and regular readers of the blog, I have issues with people, and I've been involved with people in government and mind control operations, and I've been targeted. I believe I've been targeted, and my family have been targeted. But what if there is no implant and the scanner registered wrongly? Well, the thing is, I need to confirm the presence of this object with proper medical imaging, and the problem is that these procedures are not available on the NHS for this kind of issue. I mean, if I went to my GP and I said to him, Doctor, could you please refer me to an X-ray or MRI to see if there's an object inserted into my arm by space aliens, then, oh, he'll refer me all right to the psychiatric clinic. I've been thinking, someone suggested this, and it's a possibility. I could feign an injury to my affected limb, go to A&E and get an X-ray that way, but if I demand that the radiographer let me take home the print, they might get suspicious. And also, some of these implants are X-ray lucent. They only show up on a magnetic resonance image. And a private MRI scan is very expensive, way too expensive for my budget. Ex-hospital porters aren't that loaded. And as for surgical removal, if such a thing were possible, it would cost even more. Prices depend on where the object is in the body, but there's another problem, right? Some people go to great expense and put themselves through a painful procedure to rid themselves of their alien implant, only to have it replaced soon afterwards. Now, I know a lady, she's a friend of mine, she lives close to me, she had an implant in her nose. Now, she travelled all the way to Greece to have a private operation to remove it. The thing was taken out, she flew home, but then a couple of weeks later, somebody, or something, put another one into her in the exact same spot. So for now, I'm just going to let it be. If anything untoward, if anything untoward was going to happen in the last 24 months, then surely it would have by now. So if it hasn't, I don't expect anything to happen related to this implant adversely in the next 24 months or longer. But I'll keep you posted for any updates, should there be some. And just a little reminder that the Exopolitics 2015 season continues with the 7th annual British Exopolitics Expo. It's going to take place at the Leeds Beckett University, nothing to do with the name of the organiser, on October the 17th and 18th of this year. Speakers include Richard Dolan, Mary Rodwell, Mike Cleland, Micah Hanks, Robbie Graham, Andrew Johnson, Pierre Sabac, Steve Mera, which you already heard about in this film, and Anthony Beckett. And the compare for the event will be the talk show host and broadcaster Ben Emlyn Jones. Heard of him? Yep. I'm going to be there. Now, this conference is very, very important, as I believe an awful lot of good can be done by these get-togethers and the discussions and the promotion thereof. It essentially is the forefront of the political side of the UFO phenomenon in this country. I'm very proud to be involved again. I'm very, very glad. I'm very happy. I love being there. I love meeting the people. I love listening to the speakers. And I think you will too if you've enjoyed this video. So please do get there. It'd be really, really great to see you. And, check out the videos online as well, because there are some videos of past ones. And there's DVDs for sale, and there's books and everything as well. Should be really good. God, I can't wait. Now I'd like to say a few words about the skeptics. Yes, now, Andy Roberts didn't show up in the end. He was just bluffing. He was having a laugh with us. He was posting on Facebook that he was going, but obviously he hasn't. He didn't turn up. Now, I want to point out some of the mistakes that skeptics made. Now, Steve Mera and Malcolm Robinson also made this mistake, although they didn't mean it in quite the same way the skeptics mean it. But if you ever hear a big red flag, if you're ever talking to a skeptic, and they say something like, I'm sure there's a rational explanation for this, that's a big red flag. It's a red flag which says that that skeptic is suffering from a very, very common skeptic self-delusion and has fallen into one of the many fallacies that are present in the skeptic movement. Now, the word rational explanation is nonsensical. Now, what I'd really like is if there was some kind of French or Latin phrase that I could use to make myself sound sophisticated to people. But I can't think of one right now. But basically, the concept I'm talking about here is an adjective that is applied in a way which is logically incoherent to a noun. So you use an adjective to describe a noun in a completely way that's improper and nonsensical. For example, if I was to say clever water. Now, rational explanation, the phrase is exactly the same. An explanation can never be rational. Only a method can be rational. You can have an explanation you've reached at by rational method or by an irrational method. And this is the thing. But see, when you hear skeptics say this, a rational explanation, what they actually mean is, I'm sure there's an explanation that fits in with the skeptic worldview. That's what they mean. That's translating code. For example, I mean, there are plenty of scientists who use the scientific method properly, correctly, and are rational, yet they conclude their explanation is that UFOs, ghosts, paranormal, etc., conspiracy theories, etc., are real. Conversely, there are people who have no idea about science, never use its methods, know nothing about it, who say, oh, there ain't no such things as ghosts and paranormal conspiracies, mate. It's all in your head. It's all a load of nut job rubbish crap, right? The moment someone says that, they have come up with a rational explanation for these things. Yet then they have not used a rational method. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? So that's a very, very important point to make about skeptics. Another important point to make is that when skeptics will just immediately shut down and close a case the very moment they get their CTCS, conveniently told confession story. That's what a CTCS, or any kind of explanation, or someone coming up holding their hands up and saying they faked it, or something like that. The very moment, for instance, there's a good example with Bigfoot, okay, because in 1967, Bob Gimlin and Rob Patterson made a very famous Bigfoot film, which some of the skeptics said was not really Bigfoot. They said it was. Some of the cryptozoologists said it was. You know the film I mean, the Bigfoot walking through the woods. They said, oh, that's Bob Gimlin's wife dressed up in a furry suit. And the skeptics said this, or they said it was an actor. They hired an actor. Now, Bob Gimlin actually he phoned up Chris Packham, who's a famous TV presenter on naturalism in Britain, and he confessed. He said, Chris, I faked it all those years ago. I got my wife to dress up in a big furry suit, just like the skeptics claimed I had. All right? And Chris said, okay. Now, the moment a skeptic hears those words, they will say, right, we've got a confession, everybody. Case closed. Look away. Right, next subject. And that's it. That's it. Case over. We've got a confession. But don't they realise that the confession is a claim too? Skeptics have always gone about claims. People making claims. Do you have evidence for your claim? Well, I think the problem is that when you get one of these rational explanations, they don't ask for evidence. Especially if it's a confession, it's a debunking exercise. It's a claim that's been made and an idea, and then suddenly you get somebody come forward and said, "Oh no, it's a weather balloon. Oh no, it's someone dressed up with a sheet over their head, like, you know, oh, it's like a Scooby-Doo cartoon. You know, we've worked out who it is." Then the moment that happens, then the case is over. Now, that's another falsehood, another self-delusion, and major mistake the skeptics make and don't realise they're making it. So these are the issues you've got to. This sort of will forewarn and forearm you if you're ever having to deal with skeptics like Andy Roberts or any of the others. Just because they'll say, oh. And another thing, Peter Knudsen said this on my radio show. The moment someone accuses someone of faking something, say it's a fake UFO footage, people just drop it and run. They don't, even within ufology, they do not ask for any substance to that claim. So you get a really, really good piece of UFO videos, really good piece of photograph, right? The ufologists are all over it. And someone stands up at the back of the room, puts their hands up and said, "Oh, I faked that." They said, "Right, get away from me." Ugh! It becomes like it's red hot. They won't touch it. Which means that they can never, ever get... This is one of the problems ufology has, and paranormal investigation in general, is why we're not making progress, is because of this sort of thing. It's one of the reasons. Not the only reason, unfortunately, as I'll explain later. That's something we've got to stop doing. We must not just run away from things just because someone shouts fake. All right, we don't have to impress the skeptics. We don't owe them anything. We don't need to put them on a pedestal. All right, it doesn't matter what they think of us. All right, we don't have to convince them of anything, because you can't convince them of anything. They have a worldview, which has an inbuilt defense mechanism against any of the things they don't like being true. And that's an important point, because they will say, they use phrases like Occam's razor, which I talked about in the last film. I think it's a problem-solving exercise where in fact, someone in the comments box brought it up, if I remember. If you want to solve a problem, you always go for the most likely explanation first. So if your radio stops working, change the batteries before you open it up and start fiddling with the innards, because the most likely explanation is the batteries are flat. But as I explained, you have to know in advance what is or is not likely, and everyone has to agree on that. Otherwise, Occam's razor becomes useless as a reasoning system. But it runs deeper than that. What a skeptic will also say is, you have to eliminate, quote, rational explanations, unquote, first. All right, you have to eliminate those first before you even contemplate a paranormal explanation. Why? Because of some principle. And it ties in with Occam's razor, because the skeptics, have decided unilaterally that non-paranormal explanations are always more likely. And so therefore you have to dismiss not just any explanation that makes sense and that is it lies within the common sense of the phenomenon you're investigating, but any physically possible non-paranormal explanation. You have to eliminate that before you consider a paranormal explanation. This is impossible. It's a fallacy. The skeptics are self-deluding themselves again. This is why you get all this nonsense about bloody lighthouses at Rendlesham Forest. This here you're looking at now is the Orford Des Lighthouse. This supposedly explains the experience that these people had. These highly trained US Air Force security police. Things like this light up the cesspit of the skeptic mind like a bolt of lightning. So I hope I've given you some ammunition now. The next time you're in a debate with one of these characters in a pub or something, let me know how you get on, and if possible, get a photograph of the look on their face when you debunk them.
Now, we're at the point in the film where I answer your comments, your YouTube comments from the last video in this series. That is UFO Disclosure 2/3. As you know, if you watch this series regularly, I always reply to comments in the films from the previous film I uploaded. Now, at the time of making this video, at the time I'm actually shooting this, apologies if I've been proved wrong since then, nobody spotted a little pun in the title of the previous video, UFO Disclosure 2015 2/3. And of course the reason I said 2/3 is because we're almost 2/3 of the way through the year now, the 2015 year, the year of disclosure supposedly. The pun was that 2/3 is the title of a book, this book, quite a well-known book in the truth movement. 2/3, A History of Our Galaxy by David Myers and David Percy, edited by Mary Bennett. It's a strange book. It takes a while to sort of get into it and to understand it, but it's really, really interesting. It's a very big book, as you can tell. It'll take you a few months to read, probably. Well, it depends how quickly you read. But I think the reason I chose that title was partly because of the timing, as I said, and for the practical reasons, as I explained in the film, but also as a little homage to this weighty tome that I really quite like. Well, thanks for all the comments you've left me on the last video. Very interesting ones. Very interesting people who've been commenting. Some new people who've not commented before on Panmo TV. So, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Now, Artie Lemos says, Ben, believe me when I say I truly enjoy or prefer watching your videos than anything else on television. Oh, thanks, Artie. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy Panmo TV, and I really would be very uncomfortable if people actually enjoy television more than my videos, quite frankly, because television is so terrible. Oh, I've got a user here called The Time for Disclosure is Near. Let me just right click that, just look at the channel, right click that and look at the channel. Oh, it's a blank channel, it's got a little avatar, but there are no uploads, no favourites, no subscriptions, no subscribers. Oh, anyway, The Time for Disclosure Near. Welcome, thank you very much for joining us. And this person says, soon, Ben, soon. I hope so, I really do. I really do. I'm just, as I'll explain at the end, I'm sort of like wondering what the hell's going on. Jack Reaper, there's more chance of a 12-dicked 100-foot ninja coming down on a unicorn and fucking you in the arse than getting disclosure this year. Well, that's putting it very bluntly, Jack. Well, again, what about let's talk about Occam's razor. How are there any 12-dicked 100-foot ninjas? I don't know. No. I'm beginning to think what's going on. You know, I'm beginning to feel frustrated with this sort of like this sort of impasse that we're stuck in, and I'll say more about that at the end. But basically, I will be raising this with Steve Bassett when he comes on the show in a couple of weeks, because he is coming on the show. If I didn't mention it before, yeah, Steve Bassett is coming on the show again. Sith Lord UK. I've been following Stephen Bassett, and I do think this is the year of disclosure, and it all points to it. And NASA saying habitable planets all over the place to Obama and Clinton on the Jimmy Kimmel show. It's all happening, man. Well, Sith Lord takes the opposite position to Jack, obviously, or maybe he believes in 12-foot ninjas with 100 dicks. I don't know, or the other way around. But yeah, I mean, Sith Lord's got a point in the sense that we do seem to be leading up to something, and the things he said about the NASA have said, the very, very strange comments that various politicians have made. So if it's going to happen, I think it is going to happen this year. We're coming close to what Steve calls a window period. He says he does these window. He says at certain points disclosure becomes more like in others. He has this disclosure clock, and he says it goes up like that. It's rather like the doomsday clock they used to have during the Cold War. And when it reaches 12, that's disclosure. And we're quite high up now. We're at about 3 minutes to 12 right now, according to Steve, when I last looked. Jack Reaper says, stop with the voices, please. Just read the articles out in future. All right, Jack. All right, I can't. All right, I'm not the best mimic in the world or best voice actor, but you got to realise I'm just trying to avoid confusion. Where I want to be able to comment on articles as I read them out, bit at a time. I want to be able to do a running commentary on different paragraphs and sentences as I'm reading out an article. So using a different voice to when I'm actually quoting avoids that confusion. It's rather like people who do emails and they do their own replies. They do dissection quotes on people's emails and they do them in different coloured ink. Alright, Richie 3D. Hello, Richie. Cheers, Ben. From East Hendred, by the way. I was on the Ridgeway at Letcombe Regis and I had a weird shit encounter on my own, August the 5th, 9 PM. I saw this. It didn't grab my south bone at all quickly enough. I modelled this on precisely what I observed. I'm going to the Exopolitics event, so I'd love to say hi from a fellow Oxfordshire chap. Now, Richie 3D has made up a computer mock of that you see in the go to the description box. You'll see he includes a link, and he has put up like a very interesting, just a brief CGI clip of it. Yeah, I mean the thing about, I've said this before, photographic evidence in UFO cases doesn't carry the same weight that it used to because of Photoshop, and this and this leads to a point where people take photographs and no one believes them. Especially usually people very excited with a mobile phone camera. They're fumbling the buttons, their hands are shaking, and you get like this this thing that looks like nothing. So it's not easy. I understand if people can't get good photographic evidence for UFOs, not least because if they do, nobody believes them. If it's too indistinct, people say, the skeptics say, that's too indistinct, it's not real photographic evidence. If it's too good, if it's something going through the sky rotating like that and you can see every detail on it, they'll say photoshopped. And the irony is, even though I slag off the skeptics a lot, in this day and age they could be right. That's the problem. Special effects are too easy to get hold of, they're too good. Jim McMahon says, never try to make the videos any shorter. Nice one, Jim, thanks very much. Ellis Taylor, oh Ellis, hello. Ben mate, you're a very good communicator and this is a great idea, to respond to comments via video. Thanks Ellis. I know what it's like to be inundated with emails regarding my articles, but fortunately I don't have the public responses that you do to answer as well. I'm sure that those who take the time to comment appreciate you addressing them in this way. Oh, thanks. Like your IKEA article. Good on them. Cheers. Oh, it's oh, that was my. I think Ellis is talking about. Thanks, Ellis. Thanks for the comment. He's talking about my video about David Icke and the article I did about the last David Icke show. Prince Buster. Thanks for your response. Did you watch the video? Please do. I'd like to hear what you think after watching it. PB Aliens Come From Hell, right? Is this the one? I'm just going to try to remind myself whether I watched this or not, Prince Buster. But thanks for sending it to me. And I did reply to your comment, if you remember, on the last video. I did reply to your comment, so I have been keeping up with your replying to you. And there's a big long video here, which is an hour and 40 minutes long. Which I will. I mean, I will go through that, Prince Buster. Okay, as soon as I can. And I actually do take the idea seriously of, and like Bryce Zabel does, and I explained this to you actually in the comments in the last video. Angels and demons are a possibility of what they could be, along with all the other things that Bryce Zabel and Richard Dolan list in their book AD After Disclosure. So thanks for that. Sith Lord comes back again. I know this is a bit off topic, mate, but can you do me a massive favour? Look into what's happening at CERN and the Collider. I'm hearing they're ramping it up again, and their main goal is to create a black hole and open a portal to F knows where. This isn't good for the planet, since it would probably destroy the entire solar system. More than that, Sith Lord. And it's going unnoticed. I'm also hearing that it's opening up the gates of hell, and demons have been photoed coming through, kind of scaring the hell out of me. If this is the case, I think it's the biggest threat to us, more than nukes or anything else. Can you look into it, please, buddy? Even Stephen Hawking has said it's a bad idea. Sith Lord, I've made a video on this very subject. Go to my video list. It's called CERN, Progress or Apocalypse. And there's a complete feature-length video that I've made about this whole subject. So let me know what you think. Okay. Goon Love. Oops, there goes another YouTube troll. Who's that this time? Oh, here we go. No. Alistair Inglis. I disagree, Ben. It will be King Bush 3. It's the Republicans' turn to muck it all up. Alright, this is referring to my statement that Hillary Clinton would definitely be the next US president. I thought they were going to play the feminist card. They're going to have a woman because they had a black man before, because of cultural Marxism. And I said, for that reason, Hillary was the chosen one. Alistair Inglis disagrees. He thinks it's going to be King Bush 3 is Jeb Bush, because they've had, of course, George H.W. Bush, then the son George W. Bush, and then there's his brother Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida. So yeah, maybe you're right, Alistair. Maybe they'll make it a hat trick and we'll have 3 Bushes. I don't know. Oh, I doubt it actually. But we'll see. I mean, nearer the time we may have a better idea of who's right and who's wrong. Jamie says, hi Ben, great work. Have you seen Dr. Greer's 2 new vids, and have you wondered why Bob Lazar and Greer have never collaborated to make a video together? I've always wondered why not. They would be able to do some good collaboration work, I think. Well, Jay, yeah, I've not seen Dr. Greer's new videos yet, the ones you're referring to, so I'm just checking the battery. But I will watch them. Dr. Stephen Greer is coming to do a speech in London, which I hope to attend. Like everything else Stephen Greer does, it's about 3 times as expensive as anything anyone else does in this business. But somebody actually gave me a donation. They went to my website and they put in a donation to help me with the. They didn't give me the whole thing, but they gave me part of it. So I feel obliged to go now. If not, I would return that donation to them. But actually, you know, I'm actually curious to see him. I mean, despite the fact that I'm a bit dubious. In fact, I'm really very dubious about Dr. Stephen Greer these days. At the same time, I'm curious to see him. I want to see one of his live shows. So, and as for Bob Lazar, it's a good point. I've never thought about that. Greer, as far as I know, has never mentioned Lazar. You think they'd be kindred spirits? Project's back. Project's black. I'm back, Ben. I never left. I'm not a skeptic. I've seen them myself. Oh, only I use science and logic. Well, actually, this is a point I'm talking about. I actually made a point about this Project's Black in the actual video. UFOs should be seen in a more scientific way rather than groups of people with wild stories claim all sorts of crazy things. Cults cashing in on it. Well, Project's Black, we do actually. I think we do. As I said, you see my little segment I do on skeptics in this film, which will explain that to you. Governments aren't hiding the fact there are aliens. They're looking. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And yeah, there estimated to be 10,000 communicative Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone. Now he's talking about the Drake equation now and SETI. Yeah, I know. You know, I know there's a lot of funding. NASA looking for planets. It's not quite the same thing as the UFO issue we're talking about here. They came out of They came about Area 51 because Russia knew it was there and were watching the place via satellites. They came out about Area 51. No, they came out about Area 51 because a man called Robert Frost sued the government. That's why. So it's a long comment. I'll try and go through as much of this as I can. As for aliens, right. What they want is for Russians or other countries to think that the USA has advanced alien technology. This would make people think that the USA has far more advanced military equipment than they have. It's all psychological. Blackbird existed. They sent up interceptors, that's MiG Russian aircraft, to bring down, even shoot SAM missiles at it, but they weren't fast enough. You see, well, first of all, Project Black is saying that he's brought up a very interesting question, and thing that is addressed by people like Mark Pilkington in the book Mirage Men, which is on my shelf somewhere, in which he claims that the UFO phenomenon, the modern UFO phenomenon, is some kind of double bluff. It's something engineered by governments to launder their own much more down-to-earth and terrestrial intelligence projects. That's a big subject. I think I've addressed it in other videos. I don't agree, but maybe it's something to go into in another video. All right, But I have actually reviewed. I've written a review of Mirage Men. If you go to the main Hapanwo blog and put in Mirage Men, you'll find my review of that book. And also, if you go to the Hapanwo TV blog, hapanwo-tv.blogspot. No, if you go to the Hapanwo Voice blog, hapanwo-voice, you will find I've reviewed the film as well, because I've watched both. Now, it's true that the Russians were watching Area 51 because of the secret spy plane projects. Now, there's things like Oxcart, the U-2, and Blackbird, 71 Blackbird. Project Black has some pictures and videos of those aircraft on his website. Now, he's obviously, I think he is an aircraft enthusiast. I think Project Black, if that's correct, and they're very interesting too. The things you tell us. Now, it's true, but the fact, just because there were secret spy plane projects, Area 51, no one's denying that, doesn't mean there weren't other things more esoteric, perhaps, which may be at a different level of classification. It's a big subject, but I've written about Area 51, and I've looked into this. As for aliens, well, they would use the same technologies we find on Earth or other planets. They would use spectroscopy to look at atmospheric composition of planets, more so before they came here, like the James Webb Space Telescope. Yeah, that's true. He talks about there's things like the the Kepler Space Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope. That's true, but you're assuming that the classic extraterrestrial hypothesis is correct. It might not be Project Black. We could be looking at something else on the list of Dolan and Zabel in their book. Maybe the demons and things that that Prince Buster talks about. All right. Maybe interdimensional effects we're talking about here. Maybe something connected more with ghosts and other paranormal phenomena. Thanks for writing all this. I appreciate you writing these long comments, and I do like your input. You're a good commenter, Project Black. Here we go. So, the only problem was this method is that it uses the speed of light and unfortunately shows the atmospheric past of a planet. That's right. We're looking at stars now, out in the sky, with their light coming towards us now. Was started off when the dinosaurs were there. Those planets have probably changed in the intervening period, like our Earth has. Yes, good point. Right, everyone wants a new spare planet to live on just in case, so they'll probably turn up. See, we're here to turn around and move to the next planet. The reason we're probably visiting all the time is because we're on the outer edge of the galaxy, and it's over 100,000 light years across. It also begs the question, if so, many are or have come here. Faster than light propulsion may be easy to work out. Yeah, I mean, it's true. The aliens are going to use, presumably they will be like us in many ways. But if they're interdimensional, they may be operating under a very different law of physics. If they're within this universe, they'll use the same law of physics. They'll use electricity, they'll use nuclear fusion and fission, they'll use Newton's laws, etc., etc. Now, the idea of us moving to other planets, well, I think it's already been done, quite frankly. You look at the secret space program, it's been done already. I'd love to go to another planet. I'd love to visit the moon and Mars. Maybe I will do sometime, but it'll be in the post-Illuminati world. You also have to ask yourself the question many people have asked over the years: why don't they just land on the White House lawn? Well, ask yourself based on that, Ben. Am I a skeptic? Well, yeah. Why don't they? Well, people say this about crop circles. Why do they put marks in the fields and terrify the life out of some yokel and then fly back off to Alpha Centauri? But you're anthropomorphizing. What you're actually saying, Project Black, is that this is what, if I was an alien travelling to another planet, this is what I would do. Alright, but we can't put ourselves in their shoes. These intelligence may think very differently to us. I mean, look at some animals like dogs and cats. I mean, sometimes they'll do things, and I look at a dog or cat and say, what the hell is that dog doing? Or like, what's he doing? It doesn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't make any sense, because I'm anthropomorphizing. I'm saying, well, if I was a dog, I wouldn't do that. But I'm not a dog, I'm a human. The dog is doing something that it understands because it's a dog. There's lots of things that we do I'm sure the dog wouldn't understand. So you're anthropomorphizing there, I think. But thanks for the comment, mate. Excellent. Much appreciated. Daniel Bostock. The tanks look more like houses or huts. Dan, that's right. He's talking about the Antarctic situation, where I said that some people are suggesting there were tanks approaching that UFO on the ice. Check the battery again. They're too big to be tanks, as I explained, but they look square. They could be some kind of building, some kind of construction. Someone suggested on the third phase of the moon comments box that they're surface submarines. Now, it's very true that submarines can travel, nuclear submarines, especially nuclear-powered submarines, can travel underneath ice packs and can surface through the ice. They can actually break through the ice and come up. And it's possible that's what we're looking at there. 4 surface submarines in a row facing this alien. But then again, the shape looks wrong. I mean, doesn't quite fit. And you see other things around submarines as well. Yeah. 69 Phuket. The flat Earth has erupted from where in the past few months ago? I know this flat Earth stuff. I think it's to do with the death of Terry Pratchett. Did I mention this in the last video? I don't know, but everyone's going on about the flat Earth now, and no one did until about 2-3 months ago. There's a guy in Hull who reckons he's proved the Earth is flat. I met him, but it's crazy. I mean, interestingly, the Humber Bridge across the river estuary near Hull is one of the world's longest bridges, and you can actually see by looking at it that the two uprights are not quite in a line. They're about a fraction of a degree off. The reason is because that bridge is so long, the design has to take into account the curvature of the Earth. Terry Pratchett created these books called the Discworld novels, and part of it was they had this. It was a disc-shaped, a flat disc planet sitting on the backs of 4 elephants on top of a turtle, and the turtle was swimming through space. I think it's because of that this flat Earth thing's come down. Now, some people, Andrew Johnson, a couple of others, have talked about this, and they've said it's a psyop. It's the government testing how gullible the truth movement is. It's more likely something like this has just happened by accident, and because there's some people who are frankly foolish. I know somebody was commenting in the last video, very, very keen on the flat Earth being true. No, sorry, it was someone on... Actually, it was in the Hapanwa radio chat box, sorry. Saucy Saucerton. Miles Crusty the Clown Johnston has totally gone off the reservation. I always knew there was something fishy about that guy. A heavy disinformation campaign is underway. Stay objective, peace. Well, I am objective, Saucy. I don't believe Miles is disinformation. I know Project Black won't agree with me here, but I think Miles is actually very much on the money on a lot of things. I don't agree with everything he says. I certainly don't agree with everything he does. Getting involved with the mainstream media TV programmes is a major blunder on his part, quite frankly. But no, don't underestimate Miles, Saucy. He's okay. He's a good guy. Right, Linda Casey, still no wiser. No, I know what you mean. Project Black. Ah, Miles. Anyway, I see Miles has turned himself into a Doctor Who character. Money talks, doesn't it? The pile of crap is sold everyone down the river in the name of something, and he's totally destroyed and used all to benefit himself. These are people you lot should be concerned about. People in the media will then use you and eat you alive. Mike S says, Miles is a con man. And Project Black said, indeed he is. Clinically insane too. No, Miles didn't actually earn any money off appearing in that ridiculous, disgusting programme. The one that I flat out refused to have anything to do with. They wanted me to be involved in it. And unlike Miles, I told him to go to hell. Miles didn't get paid. None of the guys in that programme got paid for it. There's a lot of rhetoric here, which really you can't reply to, because I can only reply to reason, not rhetoric. Rhetoric is unfalsifiable. But Miles should not have got involved with that TV programme or any of the others, and I've said so before. Clinically insane. Well, he's not clinically insane. He's eccentric and he's unusual, as am I. Who wants to be bloody normal and sane in this world, I'll tell you. And normal and sane people are the ones doing all the damage. The loonies are harmless. Tom Stargazer. The Russians have been superstitious of UFOs for years, plus they shit stir a lot. The 3 objects look like ice castles to me. I've seen similar things trekking in the mountains in Snowdonia in the winter, but forget the correct term for them. Tom, the term, I think they're called pingos or pressure ridges and things. I mean, there's all kinds of words that ice people use. The people who know about ice know. Yeah, I mean, ice castles. It could be that the people at the McMurdo base have built them for fun, you know. This guy who wrote to me once and never wrote again, he's not been back to me about this subject, so I don't know. It's true the Russians, you use the word superstitious of UFOs. I think that's the wrong word. Knowledgeable, aware, accepting, yes. Maybe this is one of the reasons why the rest of the world is giving Russia such a hard time at the moment. As I said before, the crash of the price of oil at the moment is designed to try and bring down Putin's government. Say shit stir. Of course, everyone shit stirs. But as I said in the previous video, Russia, I think, is where it's at, and I'll bring that up with Steve Bassett when he's on my show. Stephen Bamber says, Ben, I don't understand why you're confusing the copyright claim against you with what Colonel Holt is saying about Larry Warren. As far as I'm aware, Colonel Holt didn't make a claim against you. No, okay. Steve, watch the three... I made a series of videos about this subject just after the Colonel Holt video. Watch those, I explain everything. I'm not confusing anything. The copyright claim was made by somebody else entirely, somebody else who took part in that conference. Colonel Holt never mentioned it. I'm not confusing the two issues. Colonel Holt said some things about Larry Warren. He has been saying things about Larry Warren now for a number of months, and he's going to have to answer to that. And Peter Robbins, I know, is looking into this, and he's writing an article about what Colonel Holt has been saying. This began on a radio show in December of last year, and it's carried on, and it, unfortunately, as I said in the film, this is what happened in. It's continued when he was at Rendlesham Forest. So thanks very much for all the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Much appreciated. Lots more to come, and I'll be sure to make many more videos in this series, I'm sure, whether we have Disclosure in 2015 or whether we don't. So I suppose the next issue now is, as I've said, 2/3 of the year are gone. What's going to happen next? Are we actually going to have a breakthrough? As I said in the previous film in this series, I feel that ufology is stagnating. Exopolitics is stagnating. We do need some kind of coup to break the impasse. Something explosive, something groundbreaking, something revolutionary. I'm not giving up. I don't want to sound defeatist. In fact, if you look at keep an eye on the Herpanwo radio blog. There's a link in the description box to Steve Bassett's last interview. Steve is coming on the show again. All right, he's probably next. It'll probably be next week. Steve will be on. All right. So please tune in for that. I will post links to the podcast of that radio show in future films of this series. But it'd be lovely if you could tune in live. But at the moment, it's looking to be next Thursday week. I'll have Steve on. I'm recording it with him the day before. One thing that's clear from this is that it's not just a question of getting the government, that big Freudian father figure up there in Westminster and Washington, to release the files, to talk openly about Roswell, to let the witnesses speak out. It's not that simple. And I think situations like human implantation, which I myself have experienced properly, as you saw, things like the Warminster Thing, are a sign that we, the people, independent of these Illuminati-occupied or Majestic 12-controlled governmental institutions, whatever you choose to call them, have our own relationship with the ET phenomenon. ETs, whatever they are, appear. They don't always act rationally. They don't think like we. They don't seem to think like we do. You can't necessarily reason with them, but they're out there and they're interacting with us and they are aware of us. And for whatever reason, at Warminster, they decided to come down in large numbers over a long period of time and spend and interact with us at that particular place. Hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, it's still a big puzzle, but it could be that the breakthrough that's coming is not a Senate hearing of the type Steve Bassett wants, but it could be a direct contact by whatever they are with us, and the secrets could be revealed that way. Some people even go as far as to say that that has already happened. Effectively, disclosure's already taken place, because for some people there's no need for disclosure. They know it's real. It's all up in the air at the moment, but I still feel optimistic. And as I said earlier, I said earlier in the film, I came across this quote by Oswald Spengler, the philosopher: "Optimism is cowardice." I don't know, he sounds like a bit of one of these everything was pointless and meaningless posers to me. I don't think it's cowardice at all. Pessimism is cowardice. To give in and say, I have nothing left to hope for, so I can now relax. That's cowardice. So fingers crossed, and anything else you might want to cross. The next film in this series might be of a very different tone to the ones you've had before. We'll soon find out. But thanks for watching. Keep watching the skies and keep watching Hapanwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.